were just about to talk with Erin about how she discovered the plant, why, and what the plant really means to her and her journey to get to the Garden Society. So why don't we pick up there? Tell us that story, Erin.
Yeah, thank you, Vern. So I was a Midwesterner growing up. Like we talked about, I played basketball all through. And so I didn't really experiment with cannabis other than maybe the occasional puff at a party in college. And so when I got into my adult career, I started really having exposure to it more as part of a lifestyle. I lived in LA at the time on the beach. There was cannabis around me. And I was playing beach volleyball and dealing with these chronic injuries. And I started to really understand it. I got my medical card. I started going to dispensaries to dabble, if you will, and shop and see what there was. This was back in 2011, 2010.
Wow.
So it was a very different landscape than it is today in the regulated marketplace. At the time, I was dating my now husband, and he's a farmer, so he started growing. And as I was going into the surgeries and through the surgeries and recovery thereafter, I started to really understand how cannabis could help me manage my chronic pain and help me get better sleep. So having big hip injuries, sleeping was very difficult for me to find.
Absolutely.
As we talked about our project with Constellation, at the time I was actually working for Henkel. So I was having a very stressful, as it was, steep career at Henkel, where I ended up running a $100 million business. I was the youngest person that I could tell, or HR told me anyway, to have that level of responsibility within the company. And we were doing a really amazing job. We were growing the business exponentially. If anybody knows me, I have a little bit of neurotic energy, but I was putting full throttle into the project with Constellation, into my job at Henkel, and at the same time trying to be a good wife, trying to be a friend, trying to be present for everyone and everything, and also trying to start a family. So while I first entouraged into cannabis for my medical reasons, as I was kind of moving through life, I kept turning back to it because it was really what would help me sleep, what would help me find rest after a long day, what would help me just be present in the moment, and help me drink less alcohol ultimately. Because, you know, being in the wine industry, it's very easy to just consume mass amounts of wine, frankly. And we all know that's
Very
not
easy.
healthy for us. Yeah. And so what really happened that sparked Garden Society is I had, like, you know, as an engineer, and I like to craft, and I don't know, Carly will tell you I'm kind of overly creative sometimes, but I was like tinkering and making hash and oils and edibles and all these things in my kitchen. So I had a little laboratory. And my husband told one of my girlfriends that I was making edibles at home. And, you know,
Nice.
back then I was ashamed. I was also scared. I didn't want to get fired. I didn't want my husband to get fired. We didn't want to lose our project with Constellation. So there was a lot of stigma around it. And I didn't tell people what I was doing. And my friend found out, and she's like, oh, I want to come over. And then a couple more friends, I want to come over. I want to come over. So I ended up having these, like, basically unintentional monthly gatherings of girlfriends in my house to make edibles. And we called them high holiday baking parties at the time. And they started growing in size. And what I realized, it got to be the largest party. There was like about 50 women there. I had just had a miscarriage.
Wow.
I just landed back from China. You know, my husband and I were really trying to have a family, and I had just won Business of the Year at Henkel. So I just had this kind of monumental milestone. And I looked out and I realized, I had this aha moment where I realized for the first time I had friends. I traveled so much, and I had been so, like, consumed with my outside world that I didn't realize I had a community that I did when I really needed the support I needed. So for cannabis to make me realize I had this community of women who supported me was really profound. I also realized I was normal. I realized that the problems I was facing, I internalized it. I felt really ashamed. I couldn't be happy. I had all this external success, but I was really miserable. And I was trying to balance those feelings within me. And I realized that these feelings were just normal feelings that women have because of all the pressures on women. Because my friends had the same feelings that I did. And I realized that all those women were there because I wanted to learn about weed.